Welcome. Welcome everyone to LALA's 2021 annual call. To get us started, a few words from Kevin Efrusy of Accel Partners. Kevin has been an essential partner and supporter since the beginning. Thank you, Kevin.
Well, thank you. Happy to join and happy to do this. And I have to say, I am just completely blown away by everyone who's been willing to join these calls yesterday and today. And I think it's kind of remarkable because we all know working on change like this, change in Latin America is really hard. So the question you sort of ask is why? Why are you all here? Why are you all working on this? And I think it comes down to, what I'm struck by when I talk to the people I work with, or the entrepreneurs, or the other investors, many of whom are on this call, and people like Paulo and others, is I think we're all driven by the work down here is something more than just earning a living and trying to earn a living for our families and build our companies. It's something deeper than that, and it's a mission to try to transform the region. In many of your cases, the place where you're born, the place where you grew up, the people you knew, doing it for your countries, and I think it's deeply meaningful. And I'm just touched by how the people on this call are not cynical about their work and have this broader sense of purpose. And I began working in Latin America about 11 years ago, which is nothing compared to most of you on this call who've been doing it for most of your lives, if not all of your lives. But what I used to hear 11 years ago is how hard it was. The constant entrenched problems in Latin America, whether corruption, lack of leadership, difficult to make change, economic inequality, lack of social mobility, and that was measured for me by how hard it was to convince Brazilians or Colombians or Mexicans who had made it out to the US and were studying at Stanford or Harvard or Dartmouth or Northwestern or somewhere, or they had jobs in New York or somewhere, convinced them to come back to join one of our fledgling startups. And none of them wanted to 10, 11 years ago. They thought we were crazy, or even if they thought they wanted to, their parents or their spouse told them they were crazy. And they didn't work so hard to give their son or daughter this opportunity to get to the United States or get to Europe, only for them to come back to Latin America. Something started changing about 5 or 6 years ago where they began coming back. And what I can tell you right now is something's working because they're coming back. And now they're not only coming back, they're starting companies, they're joining companies, they're doing fantastic things. And to me, that's the best metric about the transformation that the people on this call and people like you have made in Latin America. It's working. It might be hard. It might feel slow, but I can tell you from where I sit, it's really working, and that's exciting. But what this call is about is that just because it's working and we're creating this kind of unprecedented wealth and opportunity generation engine for the region, and you all should be incredibly proud of what you're doing, it unfortunately isn't enough. And that left to its own devices, if we looked at what happened in Silicon Valley with this kind of wealth and opportunity creation engine, it unfortunately left to its own devices led to a lot of problems. It led to exacerbated inequality, and it left a lot of people behind in the United States. And that led us to where we know where that led us to. It led us to populism. It led us to some really difficult things. And so I think we're at a very unique moment in time in Latin America. And if you guys are thoughtful about this, and we're all thoughtful about this opportunity that we're creating, that we need to spread this opportunity to as many parts of the region as we can, to many disadvantaged populations, to rural areas, not just the major cities. And if we're systematic about doing that, then I think it can really be the engine of transformation that you all want and that we all want it to be. and not just creating wealth sort of for a few. So it's a really, really critical moment, and that you all can be part of it. And you might ask yourself a couple questions. You might say, look, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm too busy doing what I'm doing. How can I help make that happen? Well, the good news is that's what LALA's for. And that's what they're really, really good at. And they'll tell you all about how they want to attack this problem, how they are attacking this problem with addressing large numbers of young people at critical moments of their lives, how they're great at finding these young people all over the regions in which they work from all kinds of backgrounds and giving them these opportunities. And then the second question you might ask is, well, hey, look, I'm not a philanthropist and I haven't made any money yet. I'm heads down building my company and I don't have any, I can't really give to this. And that certainly might be true, but so much what we're talking about is pushing opportunity out. And there are so many things you can do to do that. Most importantly, is if you're building a company, you're part of an organization, you can create internships and you can hire these kids and bring them in to this ecosystem, which is incredibly powerful. And it's not really doing them a favor. You're going to quickly discover it's doing your company a favor, because these kids are unbelievable. And they've already been filtered, they've been vetted, they've filled with energy, they're great at organizing things. And so, folks are going to talk about how they're looking to do that. On the call yesterday, we had a co-founder of Rappi announced that not only is he a member of the advisory board and supporting LALA and giving financially, but Rappi is creating a set of internships specifically for LALA kids, to bring them on board. And I know a number of others of you on this call have already begun to do that. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Diego and David to tell you a little bit more about what they're doing and to really meet the kids, because it's just, it's incredible what's been happening with this organization. And I'm really touched. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much, both for the kind words and for believing in us since so early in the journey when all of these were just crazy dreams. It's made a huge difference. We would just not be here without you. But let's get started. LALA, if you don't know about us yet, we exist to solve Latin America's biggest problems and to accelerate our continent's growth, promote shared and sustainable prosperity, and strengthen democratic governance. If you care about these things, please stay on the call. The problems we see in Latin America is that we seem to be stuck in a cycle of inequality, low development, slow growth, weak institutions, and poor leadership. If we truly care about changing the future of our region, we cannot just leave this to our governments. And the market and businesses alone will do a lot, but unfortunately will not solve everything. Breaking this cycle requires intentionality, and this is where LALA comes in. We believe the highest leverage strategy to achieve these big goals is to develop leaders who will become the Latin American innovative entrepreneurs, like many of yourselves, the public sector ethical leaders, and proximate social sector leaders who will collectively solve our biggest problems and create the prosperous continent we know we can have. Again, thank you all for joining us today to learn more about LALA. But also, more than just talking about LALA, we want to talk about leadership. Before we keep going, look around the screen. If you have your camera off and you don't have an embarrassing background, please turn it on. Look at the other participants here. There's more than 70 of us gathered here today. And yesterday we had another 70 plus as well, who are considered leaders in Latin America and the world. Also, if you're here, it is because we or someone we trust believes that you are a different kind of leader. Like Kevin said, a non-cynical, purpose-driven leader, the kind of leader who's aspiring to do more, to serve, to solve big problems. What would it take for this group to be even bigger? At LALA, we're betting on leaders. We're all aware of the impact that a great leader can have, whether it's in a business, a movement, or a country. Think about yourselves for a minute and all the changes and impact you make in and through your organizations. Unfortunately, there's too few of you. To achieve shared prosperity Latin America requires a new generation of values-driven leaders working across borders, ideologies, industries, and backgrounds to address the most pressing issues in their communities and countries. Imagine where Latin America would be if it had 50,000 leaders just like yourselves. Now think about your own journeys. How many stars had to align for you to get to where you are? What family or neighborhood were you born into? What parents? What schools and universities did you go to? What mentors and sponsors opened which doors for you? Which introductions changed your trajectory forever? I can assure you from our work that there are right now thousands of young Latin Americans who have the exact same potential and drive as all of us on this call. Unfortunately, the stars are not aligning for most of them. So most of them will never develop like we were able to, and will not get to do the things we can until now. At LALA, we're building a machine that systematically aligns the stars for Latin America's most promising young leaders. We find them when they're 14 to 20 years old. And with our model, it doesn't matter what came before. Our strategy allows us to get our students into the best universities and jobs and meet the best mentors. We accelerate their self-directed learning so that they can first catch up and then often surpass their more privileged peers. Some of you met Julia last year, who went from public schools and selling candy in the streets of Rio de Janeiro to getting a full ride at Babson College. A year later, I'm happy to share that Julia is thriving. She's been making Dean's List and recently won Babson's Philanthropy Award. It can be done, and LALA's doing it. And it only costs us around $3,000 per student to do all of this. Now, I'd like you to meet my co-founder and LALA's executive director, David Baptista, and some of our wonderful young leaders, so you can learn a bit more about how this all works.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you all for attending. It is our pleasure to be in shared space with all of you today. It's with joy that I get to introduce you to our alumni, so you can hear their experiences and their voices. First, Saul. Saul is the one that many of you have been communicating with. Saul, hi Saul. She's an intern at LALA. We call our interns ACs, alumni coordinators. Saul has participated in our leadership bootcamp, our inaugural academy, and lots of other opportunities at LALA. I'd like to give her a few minutes to introduce herself, share a bit about her experience, and answer the question, Saul, how did your internship contribute to your development?
Yeah, thank you, David, and hello, everyone. Just first of all, thank you for answering my emails and for being here. Well, I'm Sol. I'm from Rosario, Argentina. I'm 21, and I would love to tell you how this internship changed or shaped my professional development, and especially because the way I see my professional path, like LALA changed it way before this internship that I started in March of this year. It was when I met LALA. So I was part of a leadership program in 2019 in Lima, Peru. And before that, I thought that my willingness to change my community, to support my community, was kind of like secondary, something that I would do as a hobby in my free time. But at the camp, I was introduced to social entrepreneurs, to people who's making a living at the same time that they can make an impact in their community. And I was like, oh, whoa, is that possible? And since then, I tried to find ways that social impact can be central in my life and in my professional development. And well, as I said, I started this internship on March of this year, and it was when LALA opened, along with other positions, a space in the communications department. And I studied communications at college here in Argentina. I'm in my last years, and I was like, oh, great, this is an opportunity to develop everything that I learned at school, like actually put it into practice. And I found way more than what I was expecting. So I knew the experiences that my friend had at the internships that they offer in their colleges. in their like in the internship that my college offers. And like LALA wasn't nothing like that, because here I have the chance to feel her like Kara, who's in this call. She's my supervisor, and I don't see her like only a supervisor. Like I feel that she considers me her thought partner, that I can actually tell her my ideas, that I can be creative, we can make decisions together, and I get to build structure that will help more students to come to LALA in the same way that I did. So I also feel that I can help LALA's mission at such a young age. And at the same time, I get to develop a lot of professional skills. Like for example, I'm in charge of an admissions campaign, and that's across the departmental project. So there are people from outreach, from admissions, and from communications, and I get to assign tasks to facilitate meetings, to plan a strategy. So I get to develop a lot of project management skills that I might not be able to get the internships offer here in my city, that are way more like, okay, you have this set of tasks and that's it. So I feel really grateful, and I hope that in the future, more students, more young students like me can get a work environment in which they can thrive and they can feel appreciated and heard. So that's what I want to share. Thank you for the space.
Thank you, Saul. And the kind of skill development you're talking about it's precious, it's rare, and it makes a big difference. I'd like to introduce now Ronaldo. Ronaldo, please share a bit about your story.
Wow, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, I'm saying wow repeatedly because we are like more than 70 people here. And I must confess, I'm not nervous. I'm super, super, super happy and grateful for this opportunity, because looking past into my life, 2 years ago, I would never ever imagine that I could be here in front of you. You're like amazing professional and you listen to my story. And I don't know what about you, what that means to you, but to me, it means a victory. Well, let me introduce a little bit about myself and my history. I was born in a farm to be a farmer, just like my mother, my father, and my grandparents. And I had that on my mind for like too many times. And like my whole life, I grew up into an agricultural area in the rural zone in the state of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. And for instance, universities were something that we only knew because of the movies. It was really far away of me because it did not have it in my city, for example. So it was really something out of my mind. And right now, differently from what everybody expects from me, I'm majoring in international relations, and I have the opportunity to work directly with education, which makes me so happy. And when I look to these changes, I think like, how could that be possible? And other people think the same way. And I can assure you that it only was possible because my eyes were open. After getting to college and by seeing movies, I always had this feeling of getting, but it took tons of effort from my part because it was not at all at my landscape, but I did. And when I get into college, it was crazy because I could realize a whole different world, a world that I would never supposed to be part of because of my background. So in this new world, I found LALA. And I remember the feeling that I had when I saw the opportunity because I was thinking, would I fit in? It's like, this is an amazing community composed by amazing young people in Latin America. Who am I? And LALA knew the answer before I even realized that. And they showed me that I'm not only a student, but I'm a leader. And LALA connects with so many opportunities that it's once again, wow, I have never imagined that somebody from my background could join in scholarships, fellowships, summer internships, online programs, study abroad, master degrees. But this is true and this is happening to me. I'm a fellow researcher at Harvard University, which is amazing. And I'm a student at the Global Citizen Year Academy. And this is all of the start. Well, it's really, really powerful. And when I look into my life, I can assure that The public education system in Brazil, it's broken, and it does not prepare us to grow, to see us as an agent of the society. And many students are just like me. They are lost and don't know how powerful they are or they can be. LALA has helped me so much to find my space and to understand the change that I want to lead to my community. And right now, I'm so glad to share for all of you that after some attempts, I'm working as alumni coordinator in the internship program of LALA for financial aid. And it has been an amazing work with my brilliant manager, Rafa, who is here with us. We are identifying other Ronaldos through the Latin Americans so we can provide them the chance to join our network despite of any economic barriers. And to me, that's incredible. So to finish that, I would like to use this space for say thank you for LALA for believing in me and for realizing my strengths, my power, and my agency before I realized that, and for making me notice me as these agents of changing. And at the end, I can say right now that this is what leadership is about, is leading the change no matter how society labels us and no matter where we were born. And thank you for that.
Thank you, Ronaldo. Connectivity makes all the difference. I'd like to now introduce Yasmin. And no matter what Yasmin says about herself, she's never going to be able to express the full impact that she has here unless she's one of our stars here at LALA. Yasmin, please tell us a little bit about your story.
Thank you so much, David, and thanks for everybody for being here, for believing in that you have the power to lead a change. Just before we start, I'd like to to acknowledge that I'm so nervous now, and when I'm nervous, my English is so terrible. I might like talk any other language, but not English. So I hope you can understand me. So, well, everything started when I recognized that my grandmother's story was not also mine, but it was the story of many other people around the world. My grandmother was a child that came from the highlands here in Peru, and she couldn't go to primary school, so that means that she doesn't know how to read or even how to write. But I'm probably her granddaughter. I'm here talking in front of you, bringing my voice because this is not only my voice, but it's the voice of many other people that have came across the same situation. When I was studying at high school, I used to study at a public school, but then I was given a scholarship and I changed my studies to a private one. But that change that also made me realize that there are many opportunities open or available for us that I didn't know that existed. It changed my perspective of the world. Unfortunately, when I finished high school, I had to stop my studies for 1 year. I was forced to take a gap year that I didn't know that existed because of social and economical barriers. My parents couldn't afford the university. And at that time, I remember like seeing my friends studying at the university that they wanted, but I had to stop for a year. And it was not until like 1 year later that I had the opportunity to have another scholarship to study at the university. I'm gonna graduate next year in psychology, so I'm so grateful for that opportunity. But even having like the opportunity to have all those scholarships to access to education, it made me also realize that those are still privileged for some people that they don't know that those opportunities exist. They don't have access to education or to quality of education. And now I know that I need to do something to change that. Well, I participated in LALA 3 years ago when I was 18 years old. And since that moment, I realized that we have the power to change the world, that we don't need to grow up or to get a master's degree or maybe be adults to start taking actions to make an impact in our communities. We can use the resources that we have around us. We can use the knowledge that maybe we could learn at high school to start taking actions. And I realized that my grandmother's story was not also mine, that it was the story of many other people, that it can be the story of maybe some of you. But we don't need we don't need more people to go through the same situation because we have the opportunity now to take actions. When I came back to Peru, because my bootcamp or my leadership camp was in Colombia, I started taking actions because I knew that I wanted to learn the many things to achieve my biggest goal, which is like let an impact in the world. LALA helped me realize that my story and recognizing that that story is not also mine, it's also many other people, can be turned into an action plan. So imagine what this action plan ended up to be. Well, last year I started La Comunidad, which is an organization that aims to empower other youth across the continent. We are youth working to empower other youth. And this, I know that this is only like the start of this community. And since that moment, many amazing things have came across my life, things that I would have never expected to happen. Well, let me tell you like some things that I could face or that I could experience that were amazing. This year, I had the opportunity to be in two amazing places. The first one sharing a space with the Global Director of Education at the World Bank. And the second one was bringing my voice to the Latin American Education Forum by the Harvard University. Harvard University is like my biggest university. Like I want to go there, but I would have imagined that I will be there talking with people that had an experience the same as I had in years in life. So that was so amazing for me. I'm now an alumni coordinator for operations, and I manage and coordinate over 4 events at LALA with thousands of guests. I'm a structure builder who designs operations so multiple stakeholders can communicate around workflows. I create dynamic processes and lead multiple teams at LALA with many members inside. And now what is most important to me is that I'm so passionate about education and social impact. So that's why I'm currently looking like for an internship to start even challenging my skills even more. It can be in anything in education or it can be in social impact things. So if you're interested or if you want to discuss about how education can change someone's life, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Well, now I'm only 21 years old. I have turned 21 years old like 2 months ago, but I know that this is only like the start of my career. And I know that this is only the start of my path in social impact journey. There are many things to come. And now I know that, and I believe that transformation is not only about seeing the problem and not like maybe acting for that. Transformation is taking action to achieve many things in life. And I think that each of us has to have like a biggest purpose in life that it's like change other people's life. It's our responsibility to do it. Now I deeply believe that we all have the power to do it. And every step I take, even being here or even learning something new makes me be closer to my biggest goal. For me, change is not even an utopia because I have listened to this many times that, oh, the world won't change like in some years, but change is not a utopia. It becomes a reality when we work to achieve it. So thank you so much for the opportunity and thanks Lala and thank you all for believing in us because I know that we will achieve many things together and that you'll have the power to lead a change.
Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you for explaining to us that we're stronger when we understand our past, have a clear imaginal sense of where we came from. And also for letting us know that we need to act now. No matter where we are in life, the time to act is now. You're a brilliant example of that. Thank you. I'd like to now introduce Tássia. Tássia, please tell us a bit about your story here at LALA.
Ok. Oi, gente. Meu nome é Tássia de Matos, eu tenho 21 anos. Sou de Cachoeira, Recôncavo Baiano, Brasil. And I'm currently a humanities student and aspiring educator. And my passion for education was precisely what led me to find LALA and participate in the bootcamp in 2019. Even before arriving at LALA, I had a goal to build piece by piece the change I believe was necessary in my community for a fairer education, so that other people from historically underrepresented or marginalized realities like me could have the chance to be seen and properly represented in spaces of power. Joining LALA was part of my goal, but that wasn't excluded from the problem either. Within this multicultural community, the same exclusion mechanisms arise. Therefore, bodies like mine, Black, Northeasterns, but also indigenous people and people from favelas were not represented in this community. And this reality didn't make me sway from my goal, and that's exactly why I'm here today. Within LALA, I learned that I can not only lead the change, but be it. And as it is not enough to be the only one or minority in this process, I decided to raise my voice to change this community as well. And since 2020, I have been working daily and incessantly, organizing events, building projects, and amplifying other voices to create a more inclusive and powerful place. When I arrived at LALA, I didn't speak English or even hear my language through the hallways. Today, we reinvent the language through a beautiful Portuñol. I didn't see people like me with the power to speak inside the camps, and today I actively participate in this process as a co-facilitator. Having the power of change in my hands with the support of this organization gave me the chance to believe that if I could make this space more welcoming to me, I could also share this with people from different realities, bringing them to the LALA community. Today, I'm currently the Alumni Coordinator for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Access, and I lead the Programa de Suporte para Jovens Negros, Indígenas e Periféricos. Together, with other young Black people and allies, we built from scratch the solution that we believe is necessary to transform not only the world, but also our home, LALA. And we created an active support movement among these young people to guide them step by step in their development process until arriving and staying at the Latin American Leadership Academy. Our change already brings us results when we see the growth in the application of young people from this group, and when we have a camp where 53% of the group declares themselves Black, Brown, Indigenous, or from Brazilian favelas all over the country. Making this happen every day renews my hope for the future of our community, that today has not only Tássia, an aspiring educator, but many others to come, like Maria Eduarda, who believes in changing the narrative through literature, like Ayrton Paiva and Thalita Nogueira, dreamers from Favela da Maré, Rio de Janeiro, like Luana Souza, climate change activist from Maranhão, and Isabel Guajajara, a young Indigenous leader from Northeast. All of it because I know that we are the hope for a better future, and we come from every corner from Latin America. So, muito obrigada for this space here.
Thank you, Saul. Thank you, Ronaldo. Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you, Tássia. Thank you for finding the time to be with us. You all have no idea how busy they are with finals and work. We just launched camps a whole season yesterday. They're part of the engine that's making this happen. And truthfully, I don't want you to think about this as a presentation for you. This is the work. Consider yourselves introduced to future leadership. They will be part of these kinds of calls in the future. And we have already 1,000 young leaders just like them. They're not just exceptionals. They're exceptional, but they're not exceptions. There are hundreds like them at LALA and thousands across the region. We found a way to find, develop, and connect young leaders like yourselves, but from all backgrounds. So let's talk a little bit about search and selection first. What are we looking for when we find a different kind of leader? Well, first, we select leaders when they're teenagers. It's critical that we find leaders at this point in their lives. They're malleable, they're still developing their identity, they're setting goals, they're focused on particular kinds of skills, and they're getting this emerging sense of purpose. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? We support them in their leadership development over time. It makes all the difference in the world that we find them at this critical time. This is the point of highest leverage. Second, we evaluate students differently. We do not look at test grades, test scores, and grades. Instead, We evaluate how much unique opportunity our program might have on their lives, as well as looking at their commitment toward helping others and serving their communities, a history of past practice, and an ability to articulate what they care about and what motivates them every single day. We believe that a student's drive for service and self-development are much stronger predictors of future growth than traditional exam results. And we have a growing body of research that's showing us that we're right. Third, we select for diversity. We give special focus and energy to finding youth from underrepresented backgrounds. They're often lost or disadvantaged by our current system. And what we want to do is make this a more equitable system. These youths are often missed by traditional selection strategies, and it's our responsibility to find them. Some of the innovations that we're most proud of are those particular strategies. And lastly, we insist on having a critical mass of leaders. We find, develop, and connect youth at scale to ensure we're invested in the average growth and impact of our leadership network over time.
Thank you, Dave. The LALA journey starts with our award-winning one-week leadership bootcamp. This is an intensive program focused on our students' identity, story, and purpose, on entrepreneurship, social innovation, and developing social and emotional skills. Pre-pandemic, we ran camps in 6 countries. Since the pandemic, we successfully pivoted to virtual bootcamps. Our net promoter scores do not fall below 90, and often our camps, in-person and virtual, score perfect 100, which is unheard of in the education space. Post-pandemic, we'll continue to operate a mix of in-person and virtual programs. For most of our students, LALA bootcamps are the first time in their lives that they meet other people who, like themselves, are aspiring for something greater. We hear it again and again. I was so lonely. My friends, my teachers, my parents don't understand why I care about these things. And at LALA, I found my tribe. The day camp ends is also the first day of the rest of their lives as members of our ecosystem. At LALA, young leaders find a space that is rich in inspiration, support, and opportunities for development. The first thing for alums is join the alumni community itself. After having struggled all alone, they now have access to over 1,000 young leaders like themselves from 17 countries and growing. There's literature clubs, mentorship programs, college prep support, an international Afro-descendant community, language learning programs, and more. Many alums report that this community alone is life-changing. And this should be no surprise to you all. Think of the communities and networks that have had the biggest impact on you. Now imagine going from a life where you would never have such a network to getting it when you're 16. Our students then have access to more LALA programs, such as our Gap Year Leadership Academy, our mentorship program, our incubation program for young entrepreneurs. Students develop personally and professionally in our career internship program, our mindfulness and compassion cultivation training, and much, much more. And then there are unique opportunities through partner organizations. We want to empower our students to reach their ultimate leadership potential, but we know we cannot do everything ourselves. This is why we find organizations that specialize in other parts of the leadership journey or on specific tracks like public service or technology, and we partner with them to create unique opportunities for our students.
If you attended our annual call last year, a lot of this might sound familiar. At LALA, we're obsessed with learning, and I'm going to go over some of the highlights about what we're learning, what makes our model innovative, and how we think we're evolving moving forward. So here are the lessons that we've learned. First, when it comes to search and selection, we believe in a broad-based selection strategy where we give many students entrance into the ecosystem. This requires enough scale to take a chance on more young people. And we're happy to announce that over the next 3 years, we aim to triple our student intake from 500 incoming students a year to 1,500 incoming students a year. I'm really proud of that. Second, we've learned that if you want real diversity, it's not enough to be welcoming, to just put out a call, an invitation to leadership. You have to go out of your way to invite. You have to go out of your way to really accompany. So we've been making a lot of progress, particularly in Brazil, where we have our first country hub. Our director of Brazil has hired 2 Afro-descendant LALA alums and is working with them to make partnerships. They're going to favelas, rural areas. They're going in person. They're meeting potential applicants. They're supporting them with their application process, not just putting out a call. And I'm proud to report that in just 1 year, we grew the percentage of Afro-Brazilians participating in LALA from just 25% to 50%. And we're learning how to do this, how to really invite those underrepresented hidden gems to our programs. Next, when it comes to development, we used to think that we had to create a kind of one-size-fits-all development program, that if we just built this thing that all leaders went through, then they'd all become leaders. And it makes sense, right? Like that's the kind of thing that we see at most of our institutions. They pack everything into a few years, universities, high schools. But what we've learned by really listening and obsessing about what our students are telling us is that this strategy is not ideal. They come from different places, very different starting points. They need different forms of support at different times and in different sequences. So this is why we're now building LALA to be even more modular, to offer our young leaders the freedom of choice so that they can opt into development, the right opportunities for them at the right time. Our support structures, they're lean, they're compatible with schools, universities, and work life. And we focus on important things that most schools and universities miss so that we can complement their existing efforts. We believe that all of these efforts together can be really powerful and that engaged LALA alums can access up to 5,000 hours of additional development, complementary to the traditional schooling. Lastly, we're committed to measuring our work. All of these different disaggregated interventions, they work as a rich set of quasi-experiments. We're able to look at the different modules and look at the choices that they make so that over time, we're able to increasingly know the impact of each intervention. We can map and understand these choices that our students make on their learning journey and the outcomes they result in so that we can systematically recreate these pathways for future youth. We're obsessed with making the choices that they make visible and understanding precisely what these different pathways are so they can unlock the future of our strategy at LALA. Thank you.
After 4 years of doing this work, these are no longer ideas and dreams. We know it works and that it works systematically by design. Now, to give you a sense of budget, scale, and leverage, in our first 4 years, we spent a total of $1.6 million, of which 75% came from philanthropy. With these funds, we found and developed 1,015 young leaders from 17 countries, of which 70% came from underrepresented backgrounds. As of our last annual survey, 240 alums are studying in some of the best universities in 29 countries, in Latin America and around the world. Many of them have received almost full or full need-based scholarships. Those scholarships amount to over $13 million. Compare that to the $1.6 million that we spent on building everything at LALA. Just those 25% of alums alone already represent an 8x return on investment. Some placement results are already astounding. Did you know that 45% of Latin American students at Dartmouth College come from LALA alone? Here's the cool thing. We got the data behind the scenes. Most of them were admitted in spite of their SAT scores being much below the 25th percentile of Dartmouth's average. So this allows us to make a very strong attribution case to LALA's impact here. Then 213 alums have already founded or co-founded a total of 106 ventures in 11 countries. Some of these ventures have already scaled to multiple parts of their countries and a few of them internationally. Collectively, they're impacting more than 50,000 people in their communities. And while these global universities and ventures launched are exciting metrics, we're actually much more excited about a much more scalable development strategy that also reduces the risk of brain drain. First, helping most of our students attend local universities. Second, connecting them to amazing mentors like yourselves on this call. And third, matching them to unique internships at organizations like your own, so they develop invaluable skills and networks while they study. We piloted our internships program this year with 26 alums and 17 partner organizations in 6 countries. It was a huge success. Participant Net Promoter Score was 94. Employer NPS was a perfect 100. The majority of these pilot program partners are signing up again. And our student applicant numbers internally has doubled. And we're also adding a pre-internship program to strengthen the program even more. I'd like to thank Felipe Amaral, who's on this call here today, for your leadership of this program. Everyone, meet Felipe. Felipe is our point person for this initiative, and he would be partnering with you if you end up partnering with us. I hope you will consider this opportunity. It's a great way to start building a pipeline of amazing and diverse talent. Also, by providing internships, you will be helping us develop this next generation of leaders. And for many of our students, the $300 monthly stipend that partners are paying our alums often doubles their household income. This is an aggressively fast path to break the cycle of poverty. And now I'd like you to meet another LALA support and the latest addition to our advisory board, Sebastián Mejía, co-founder and president of Rappi.
Thank you, Diego. Hi, everyone. Really happy to be here. I wanted to share some reflections of why I'm excited about LALA and also share some reflections about my personal story. So I will be helping LALA not only as an advisor, but also as a donor. And perhaps to start with my personal story, I'm originally from Colombia. I left quite young to study abroad. I went to school in Europe, and when I was 20 years old, I lost my father. It was a moment where I didn't have the support that I always had. There was a moment where I had to basically start working to pay for my school. And those were very formative years for me. I then moved to New York with basically no savings to try to survive, which those of you that know New York know that that's a really hard thing to do. And I kept on building companies since then and never looked back. And in 2013 or so, I started thinking, why don't we have more transformational, really iconic companies in the region where we have a massive market, that we have all of the conditions to build this type of companies, and it's actually quite existential if we want to have a chance to take opportunities of the future and really build companies that are going to live poverty, that are going to basically drive progress in the region. We needed to have these companies being homegrown and built inside LATAM. So that was the initial inception for what became Rappi. And with Rappi, we've been able to see how that takes shape and really building a company that just drives progress in the local economy, that makes cities a better place to live, that drives income opportunities for hundreds of thousands of people. And I think Rappi with other companies has been this new generation of companies that are driving capital and are driving or basically solving really tough problems, you know, that we face on a day-to-day basis in our cities that are affecting millions and millions of customers. But also as an entrepreneur, you realize that this is not necessarily enough. You realize that it's really important that we nurture a new way of leading. We nurture a new way of building some sort of an inclusive capitalism that it's building opportunities for a broader sense of communities. And I think it's important to realize that, because that's when you know that building companies is important, but it's not necessarily enough. It's easy to see all around us all of the problems that we have. And even though I'm extremely optimistic of where Latin America is, I think there is space to building a new generation of nonprofits that really build the future of what social organizations need to do. And I think that's what I see in LALA. For me, I'm very excited about helping the guys build what I think is going to be a new generation of nonprofits. I'm really excited of having a platform that can build the communities that are going to help breed the next scientists, the next engineers, the next artists, the next entrepreneurs, the next leaders in politics, which I think it's a really needed aspect in every sector of our society. I'm also inspired by what the guys are doing, and I think we as entrepreneurs need to do more, and hopefully I can contribute a little bit to that and have more leaders and more entrepreneurs also contributing and being part of programs like this. And I'm also personally involved in what we're gonna do in terms of a Rappi scholarship with LALA, where we didn't want to necessarily announce that today, but we're gonna start opening internships for you guys and these incredible talented young folks to participate and just come and build with us. Rappi is a great place for that, because we get to build at scale, we get to solve real life problems, you get to learn about technology, operations, business. So we're gonna be scaling that program at the beginning of next year. So I'm really excited to be here. Really happy to be part of this amazing community. Those of you that want to get in touch with me, just reach out at Sebastián@rappi.com, and hope I can contribute. And in my world, we learn how to grow really fast and scale really fast. So I'm going to be putting hopefully a good amount of healthy pressure to keep on scaling LALA and get to a larger impact as fast as possible. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sebastián. Thank you. You are an example of the kind of support that we're looking for. You're not only here to support us, but you're active and you're helping us to innovate and develop. Thank you. It means so much, and our future is so much brighter because of participation like yours.
Thank you.
So what's next? After 4 years of finding a kind of product market fit and refining our theory of change and strategy, we're finally really entering a scaling phase. 3 years from now, we want 1,500 new students a year. We plan to replicate the Brazil Hub concept in at least 2 new countries or regions. We aspire to build our own tech ecosystem. We need to house the growing community. It's just growing so big in so many different ways. And our programs continue to evolve in ways that show signal and value. We continue to develop programs and rigorously evaluate them for efficacy. But to fund this growth and the capacity building that's required, we're hiring people every single day. We're setting a goal for ourselves. We need to raise $1 million by the end of the year, and another 2.5 over the next 2 years. Thankfully, we're not alone on this journey. In these past few years, we've had the privilege of having so many of you join us in our work. I'd like you to hear directly from a few of them. David Vélez, the founder of Nubank, and Paulo Passoni, managing partner of Softbank's Latin America Fund.
Hey everybody, David Vélez here, founder and CEO of Nubank. Thank you very much for being online, learning more about LALA. I'm really sorry I'm not there with you, but I wanted to send this very brief message explaining why I'm such a fan of this organization. I first heard about LALA maybe about 2 years ago, meeting Diego, and I'm enamored with their cause because when you look at the incredible amount of problems that Latin American countries has, it's very easy to lose hope. And it's very hard to know where do you even begin. And the more you learn about all of these different problems, the more you realize that you have to pick your spots and you try to find the areas of maximum leverage. And I think LALA is doing precisely that. They found the area of highest leverage and highest impact, which is identifying and training leaders that then they are going to go and release into the wild of the private sector, into the wild of the public sector, which will eventually transform organizations, which will eventually transform societies and countries. So I see LALA a huge amount of potential because they will effectively be training trainers, will be training people that will solve some of the problems that we need to have. Leaders can have profound change for the positive and sometimes for the negative. But I like a lot of the focus in identifying Latin Americans from all different countries, all different geographies, socioeconomic areas, and people that really just don't really have opportunities ahead of them, and opening path for them to go and change their own countries and their own realities. So I hope you enjoy learning more about LALA. I wanted to also announce that my recently created philanthropic platform from my wife and I, we have selected LALA as one of our key projects in 2022, and we will be adding an additional 30% to any donations LALA receives, up to a maximum of $250,000. We're very, very excited about being able to work with Diego, David, and the entire organization in their ambitious plans. And if there are any questions about their mission or the organization, please reach out. I'm happy to also give you my perspective. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of the presentation. Bye-bye.
That was David. I think, as you guys know, he's taking Nubank public. So he couldn't be here today, but it was an awesome, really awesome announcement he did about the pledge and his support of LALA. And I'm sure many people are going to benefit of that going forward. Let me tell you a little bit of my interaction with LALA so far. So I heard about LALA from Kevin, I'm pretty sure. And he said, oh, join this call, the same call that you're joining right now, last year. And then I talked to Diego and I said, Diego, this sounds just like Fundação Estudar, which I've always supported in Brazil, but Fundação Estudar starts in college usually. This is awesome. This catches the people on their teenager years when you can influence their behavior much more than when they're already in college. So I thought it was a terrific idea. But I gave him a challenge. I said, look, I want you to find people who live in the favelas. Don't lower your bar. Don't change your criteria. But I want to find those people because I'm sure, potential is equally distributed at birth. And somehow that doesn't come up to be the case over people's lifetime. We need to change that. And there he went. He went to find those people, and Rafa, who's in Brazil, found 7 scholars in the last 12 months. 2 of these, and then I said, okay, first thing I want to do with them is create a WhatsApp group. Guess what? 2 of them don't have cell phones. They cannot be in the WhatsApp groups. So I said, no problem, send them a cell phone. Here's a cell phone, let's start talking. Next Sunday is my first call with them. And I'm going to get to know them. They're going to get to know me. I'm going to be their mentor. They're going to be having me on speed dial. And all of that is not for them. It's for me. It's my soul. It's my heart that feels really happy. If we think about problems compound just like interest rates. And I've heard people talk about, oh, when I die, I'll donate money. When 30 years from now, I'll do something about it. Guess what? By the time you try to do something about it, the problem is 100 times harder. If you tackle the problem early, you can change the direction of the problem. And that's the problem with our leadership in Latin America. We have this culture of no excellent work in terms of nonprofits. We have this culture of passing wealth from generation to generation. I find that deeply wrong because if you think about the super wealthy also don't pay taxes. Let's face it, our tax rate is 20%. well, maybe a little less even in Brazil. And people don't pay tax, so they're not really paying their fair share, and then they pass all the wealth to their families. What is that doing? That is basically sending the wrong signal to society. It's a very selfish signal. It's a signal that you don't care about the place you live in, and you don't want to make the place you live in better. And I find that to be highly unacceptable. So I was talking to Diego recently, and I want to codify my personal behavior into a new type of pledge. And I don't know how we're going to call it, 550 pledge. Here's my big picture. I have this norm that I donate 5 to 10% of my after-tax income every year to different causes like LALA or Fundação Ciudad or others like that, like things that have systemic impact on society. So why not codify that into a LALA pledge, and then also commit to donate 50% of whatever wealth I have by the time I die? I don't know how much I'm going to have. The inspiration came from Davi. When Davi signed the pledge, I said, I want to sign the pledge. I went to the website. It's only for billionaires. And I found that to be ridiculous. Like, I'm not a billionaire, but I want to, like, what, and the whole idea is to create a seal of approval that entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs who get this, can say, this company is led by a LALA pledge 550 donor. And you're joining a cause that will transform XYZ industry or sector. And then the wealth of that will transform the region furthermore. So we're working with Diego on that, and I'm super excited about that. And the whole concept is the money can go to LALA, can go to other things like LALA, things that have systemic impact, not just doing something nice here or there. And eventually, we do something that prevents the scenario of what I call the Venezuela scenario. One day you wake up, your beautiful neighborhood doesn't exist anymore, and it sucks to live there. Like a month ago, I was in São Paulo in our WeWork office, and I could see somebody getting robbed with a gun in front of the building in Faria Lima. I was like, this is crazy. Like, we live in this place, but we have this type of things. Like, let's systematically do something about it. I'll tell you one last story. Like, Diego introduced me to this young leader who's at Columbia studying educational policy. And all she wants to do is go straight to politics. And this is personal to me because my mom was a politician for 16 years. And that's the right people we need to back, because someone like me that says one day I'll go to politics, guess what? We'll never do, because once we go to the private sector, we're never going to have the patience or the soul to go join politics and change politics. It is these young people like the person I met and, Tabata, who she worked for, who are going straight to politics that are the future of politics. Right now, Renova Brasil, which is another great organization, already elected last time about 20 congressmen and women. Next cycle, they're going to elect 40, 45, 50. That's about 10% of Brazil's Congress. If we keep going like that, in 10 years' time, we might have a third of Congress. And that is transformational. I'm just giving examples of things like LALA that are intertwined with LALA. LALA plus Renova equals change in politics more than just what we are describing here in business. So I'm super psyched about LALA. I can't wait for my call with my mentees. And I hope you see the value of LALA and contribute as well.
Paulo, David, thank you so much for the passion. You are exemplars of what Kevin was talking about, this new, different kind of leadership that the continent needs. Everyone, I hope you will take this call as an invitation to be part of what we're building. And again, not just LALA, like Paulo said, just figure out what kind of organizations are out there that are trying to address the systemic problems in the region. If you want to learn more about LALA, we will be following up in writing. If you want to start thinking about ways to get involved, think 3. 1 is you can invest in our work. whether it's supporting the scholarship fund so we can keep accepting the most promising young leaders regardless of their background. Or you can also be a kind of strategic partner that help us build the team that does this work. Second, you can join the work itself by being an internship partner, a mentor, a speaker. Our young leaders need to get connected to leaders like yourselves. And third, you can be a connector. Hopefully, by joining this call, you can already think of more leaders in your network that should be part of this. Please connect us. We're building a continental network. Now, before we wrap up, I'd like to meet one more LALA champion who has been a star this past year since she met us. Claudia has supported us, mentored students, has been a speaker, has hired 3 interns, introduced us to her networks, and so much more. Please meet Claudia Belmont, founder of Propel, and here representing the Belmont Grania family. Claudia, thank you for all you do for young leaders and for Latin America. The floor is yours.
Gracias, Diego. And well, congratulations to all you've been doing and welcome to everybody. Diego asked me to share a couple of minutes my experience with LALA. And of course, I told him no at the beginning because I was too nervous, but for LALA, for the work they're doing, I'll share my experience. I met Diego in July 2020 after graduating from the GSP. I wanted to do a nonprofit myself that helped close the gap in education in Latin America. And everybody kept asking me if I had met this famous Diego. And I was like, who is this famous Diego? And at the end, when I talked to him, we instantly clicked. We shared the same passions and wanted the same things. And he became my mentor and good friend. But after interviewing 50 LALA alums, he became my hero. All the kids I talked to told me how transformative the experience of the bootcamp had been. They all came out with a renewed sense of purpose, confidence in themselves, and most importantly, a community of like-minded peers that helped them thrive and supported them throughout the challenges they had in life, and really believed that they could accomplish whatever they had set them forth to do. It didn't take much to convince my family of the amazing work LALA is doing, and for us as a family to want to help grow their cause. On a personal level, I have been a mentor and have hired interns for my nonprofit, and both have been really rewarding experiences. We are all very fortunate to have an organization like LALA, led by such a talented team of individuals doing such needed work in our region. I hope all of you leave today convinced that we need more young leaders like Sol, Tássia, and Ronaldo to drive the change in Latin America. And LALA is the organization that will help us accomplish that. I encourage all of you to reach out to the LALA team on a follow-up call to learn more of the many ways you can get involved and join this amazing organization to help us take Latin America where we all dream of taking it. Thank you to the LALA team, and thank you all for joining, and hope we meet again in the annual call, at the 3rd annual call. Gracias, Diego.
And with that, and being 1 minute over, let's end this call and send you all home. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your week.